Hello and welcome to the Artist Live Q&A. Today we're going to be interviewing Mary Gaspar. Mary, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So to start, we'd love to know how have you been, and how is this new phase of coronavirus been affecting a little bit of your routine, and how are you holding on?
Yeah, it's been an interesting last 4.5, 5 months, and I have had my children home with me, my 3 girls, which has been great in some ways and difficult with work a little bit. But I'm lucky that I have my studio at home, so I've been able to work and help them with schooling and all that stuff. And I'm finding, like I told you a little bit already, I'm finding that people are still interested in, or maybe more interested than ever, in decorating their homes and buying art. So that's been great. I feel like I've been busier than maybe even ever.
No, that's great to hear. We feel the same in a way, but it has been a bit crazy. We'd love to know a little bit more about your background as an artist and how did you develop your practice?
Well, I guess I'm considered a self-taught artist because I didn't go to art school for visual art, but I do have a BFA in acting. I was classically trained as a theater actress. So to rewind a little bit, how I got here, I painted from the time I was very, very young. I was taking like local art classes from the time I was 6 and entering contests and things like that as a child. And then in high school, I was very active in art studio and spent the mornings preparing my art portfolio to apply to art schools. But I was also doing plays and very invested in acting and performing. So I ended up choosing going to theater school. And I don't regret it because I feel like in some ways, and I'm noticing this now more than ever in my adult life as I'm approaching 40 tomorrow.
Congratulations beforehand. Almost.
Almost, yeah. But I'm seeing how my education in acting has kind of influenced my career as a visual artist. So basically what happened is after theater school, I did some plays in Chicago. I met my husband doing a play. So that was great. And then we moved to LA and we were there for 5 years, and I did commercials and independent films and things like that. I got pregnant with my first daughter at 27, and then we moved back home to be near my family. Sorry, that's my. And I found myself, after I had my second daughter, I was 30 years old, I was home with them, and I felt creatively flat, like I needed an outlet, and I was home with them, and I couldn't be auditioning for things as much. And so at the urging of my husband and my mother-in-law, actually, they said, you need to start painting again. And I was like really resistant at first. I was like, I have so much on my plate, how can I find the time to paint? But I never backed down from a challenge. So I started painting again.
Well, we're lucky you didn't.
What was that?
We're lucky you didn't, so we can enjoy your beautiful work.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I just started painting again. I was painting every day, and then it just snowballed. I started an Etsy shop, and I started sharing on social media, and then it just snowballed from there. First I was selling to friends and family, and then to strangers. And about 2013, I started picking up watercolor, and really kind of found my style and my voice. And then I started licensing my work, and then things just kind of, I don't know, exploded. in a
Yeah.
good.
Can you tell us a little bit more about source of inspirations? Like, your work is quite abstract, but like maybe like where did you develop this style? How did you develop this style? Like, and what inspires you when you're creating?
Yes. I started, I love interior design, so I do think that that has a huge influence on my work. I love modern design, clean lines, composition. And I was doing a little bit of that in my free time. Like I was helping people style their homes and things like that. And so I started to paint the things I wanted to put on my own walls. And how the actual my style that I have today, this plant cell series started was after my third daughter was born. I was struggling a lot with postpartum, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt like this urge to just like create gestural work. And this is where I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the acting background came in. Like it was very intuitive, and I felt like I just needed to like move to the music and like let my body kind of expel energy
Mm-hmm.
onto or into the canvas. I'm also very inspired by the mid-century painters. I love
Mm-hmm.
Helen Frankenthaler and Joan Mitchell and Lee Krasner, and that's kind of my style, like how I decorate too. So
Yeah.
it was this synthesis of all these things. It was like all these parts of me coming together, and it happened just very organically.
No, that's great. So you mentioned a little bit of music, like when you're creating. Can you talk a little bit more about this? Can you describe what is your creative process and maybe just give us like a comparison of before and after COVID? Like did did it change a lot? How is it for you to be creating before and now?
Yeah. Um, Creating is a very like ritualistic thing for me. Like I'm very influenced by my surroundings and my environment. So I like to take fresh flowers and light candles and like set the mood before, almost like a performance,
Mm-hmm.
before I start creating. Like I touch everything in my studio. I have like crystals and sage and incense, and I get very into like the environment surrounding me, um, setting the tone, so to speak. And that helps me kind of just like get into the music and the vibe, and even moving my body when I paint and all of it. It's like it's almost like a dance, especially when I
Mm-hmm.
am creating large, which I've been doing quite a few really large pieces lately. It's a very physical thing. And then post COVID, pre COVID, I would say especially in the beginning when I was working on my I did a spring collection that I released in early May, and that was such a almost like therapy. Like I would come into the studio when my husband was watching the kids, and I would like could just completely immerse myself into creating the work. And I felt like it was a true meditation. Like I
Mm-hmm.
could just release the energy in my body. I could intuitively just mark make and put out the gesture and the movement. And I think you can see that in the
Mm-hmm.
work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Art can be a very good meditation, like, and source of like therapy, like almost like you said, like I think like with all the coloring books for adults, we learn that like we all have a creative side, no matter what the field that we work at. Um, so you're talking about your work, but can you describe like one artwork in specific, like that like you consider to be like one of your favorites and why? Like, and we're gonna pair it with images for the final video.
Yes. I did two pieces recently with this last collection, and they're called Gatsby 1 and 2, Gatsby Summer 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And they are derivatives of my plant cell series, so they still incorporate the very gestural line. And I created those with watercolor. I changed the canvas into a watercolor substrate with a material called absorbent ground. And I started with wet media like watercolor and acrylic, which is what I usually do my pieces in. And then I built upon the piece from there and added lots of color. I added pastel, I added acrylic, and I felt like it was like a true evolution of what I had been working on for a long time. And the colors felt happy and free, and it just built from the minimalist nature of the plant cell to like a holistic piece of almost encapsulating a feeling. Is the best way.
That sounds, yeah, it sounds beautiful. I cannot wait to see the result. And maybe could you speak a little bit more? Like, I know, like you already talked about being a mother, like, and I think COVID is impacting all of our lives too. But perhaps like another inflection point which altered the path of your career, like, and maybe influence the development of your style more.
Yes.
If there are others, like if like motherhood and COVID were like the 2 points, like that's great as well. Like we would love to hear more.
Yeah. You know, my personal life affects my creative life. They're one and the same. You know, the overlap is always there. I mentioned a little bit about, you know, my postpartum and how that really changed the trajectory of things for me. And then to kind of piggyback off of that, another thing that really changed the trajectory of my life and my career was that I gave up drinking 3 years ago. And and the reason I gave it up, it wasn't your usual, like, you know, in the gutter story or, you know, DUIs or anything like that. But my anxiety had gotten so out of control, and I was managing by over drinking, and it was like depleting me of my creativity. And so when I gave it up, I just had this like resurgence of self. Like I felt like I had returned to myself almost as a child. And it liberated me. I felt like my fear fell away, my anxiety fell away. And so that was 3 years ago in August. And like literally from that time till now, my career has grown so much and my business took off. And so there's a direct correlation. And I really feel like it has lots of releasing fear.
No, and as an artist, it's so important to be present in what you're doing. And I think when you don't have anything to hide behind, like that probably manifests into the work as well.
And I think the repressing of I was blanketing emotions, you know, and I'm a very emotional person. And I think I didn't realize that like that was limiting the scope of who I could be.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And looking forward, where do you see your career developing? Like, and any thoughts about the future?
Yeah, I recently, in the last year, have joined with a gallery, which has been wonderful. A gallery in Connecticut, and I hope to maybe add a local gallery to that. And then I've started to reach out because I do so much work with interior designers. I'm looking into creating murals and wallpaper and things like that. So kind of taking my work to the interior design market a little bit further.
Yeah, I can definitely see some of your creations developing to patterns, like, and being beautiful wallpapers as well. And we love the meeting between sectors, you know. I think like art, design, like, and even like music sometimes, you know, like it's all interconnected, and it should be. So Mary, we always end the conversation asking our artists to suggest either a book, a movie, something that has kept you inspired and your spirit high during the COVID phase.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear like what was that for you?
Yeah. I would recommend two books. I would
Okay.
recommend Ninth Street Women,
Mhm.
which is a giant
I
two.
think we've heard this already.
Yeah,
I might be wrong, but I think someone already talked about it.
yeah. It's all about the women of the abstract expressionist movement in
Hmm.
centuries, or not turn of the century, mid-century. So it's all about Helen Frankenthaler, and tells the story of Jackson Pollock and Lee Krasner, and you just kind of feel like you're immersed in their world, and it's just awesome. I listened to it actually an audiobook while I was painting, and it was very inspiring.
Amazing. Yeah.
That, and then Untamed by Glennon
Uh,
Doyle, which is super empowering, and just I can't even describe how life-changing that book is. It's wonderful.
Untamed. That sounds perfect. I'll be buying both. Well, Mary, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure talking to you, learning a little bit more about our work. We're big fans before, like, and we became even bigger fans now. And I hope our audiences enjoy learning a bit more about you as well.
Thank you so much, Renata.
Thank you.